So Huawei has just launched its P30 Pro and man has it got us moist. This thing is an improvement even on last year's Mate 20 Pro, which right now, pound for pound, is our favourite smartphone. So what has the P30 Pro actually improved on? What is the difference between these two handsets? Here's our full side-by-side comparison. And don't forget, for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, to subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers. So first up, the P30 Pro is a beast, just like the Mate 20 Pro. It's a 6.47 inch smartphone compared with the 6.39 inch Mate 20 Pro, so it's even beefier. All the same, it's once again a curved glass design, which once again boasts those stunning gradient finishes as part of the colour range. When they catch the light just so, they look absolutely breathtaking. Like the Mate 20 Pro, the P30 Pro is IP68 dust and water resistant, so it's nice and sturdy. And rather than having that weird square camera arrangement on the back, it's been pushed over, shunted to the side, just like on last year's P20 Pro. More on that in a bit. The screen itself pretty much fills the front of the phone, again like the Mate 20 Pro. The display reaches almost edge to edge, and the notch up top is a lot dinkier as well. It's more of a dewdrop effort instead of that big thick tash that you got on the Mate 20 Pro. If you look really close, you'll even notice that the P30 Pro doesn't have a top earpiece speaker. Instead, it uses what Huawei has termed electromagnetic levitation. This basically uses the screen itself to send vibrations direct to your ear when you're in a phone call. Apparently that means less leakage, so your privacy is a bit better. No one else stood around, you can hear the other side of your phone call. Unfortunately, that means there's also no stereo media output. Your audio is only pumped out of a bottom mounted speaker. Like the Mate 20 Pro before it, however, you do get an in-display fingerprint sensor, and it's once again an optical effort. Huawei reckons it has improved on the technology though, and certainly in our hands-on session, the P30 Pro scanner seemed very quick and very responsive. Great stuff. But like before, it will simply take a 2D image of your print rather than a proper 3D image like an ultrasonic sensor. You do of course have full facial unlock here on the P30 Pro, just like you did on the Mate 20 Pro before it as well. And that's just part of the Emotion UI 9.1 setup, which is slapped on top of Android Pie. So again, the software is very similar here on the P30 Pro compared with the Mate 20 Pro. You get all the standard features such as the digital well-being, all the gesture support, all of that shenanigans. One of the only real updates here is the fact that you get Huawei's One Hop feature, which is great news if you have a Huawei MateBook branded laptop. It basically means you can quickly and easily share your files between the two. Running the show is a Kirin 980 chipset on, again, both of these smartphones, although you got 8 gigs of RAM as a base level here on the P30 Pro compared with a 6 gig Mate 20 Pro. Performance, there's basically nothing in it, let's be fair. Apps load up in the blink of an eye on both of these devices, and you'll have no problem run the latest games as well, especially the likes of PUBG Mobile and Arena of Valor, the ones which are supported by GPU Turbo 2.0. That just gives you a nice smooth frame rate. Go check out my full explainer feature for more on that. And what about the storage? Well, the Mate 20 Pro came with a generous 128 gigs as standard. That's been boosted, doubled in fact, on the P30 Pro to 256 gigs. The battery tech is the same, however, it's once again a 4200 mAh cell crammed inside the P30 Pro, and like the Mate 20 Pro, this supports Huawei's 40 watt supercharge, so you can get an incredible amount of charge, about 70% from half an hour at the plug. Both phones also support 15 watt wireless charging, and yes, a nice bit of reverse wireless charging as well, so you can share your power with another smartphone. Just out of curiosity, we turned on reverse wireless charging on both of these smartphones to see what would happen when we stuck them back to back, and the P30 Pro is definitely the alpha model because that started charging the Mate 20 Pro. But now onto the bit that really counts, the camera tech, because Huawei is all about the photography chops with the P30 Pro. Now we still absolutely adore the camera tech on the Mate 20 Pro. That tri-lens setup is fantastic, but that's been boosted to a quad lens setup here on the P30 Pro. So you get a 40 megapixel primary lens on both smartphones. However, on the Mate 20 Pro it was an RGB lens with an f1.8 aperture. Here on the P30 Pro it uses Huawei's new Super Spectrum tech to suck up even more light than before, and it's an f1.6 aperture as well, so again more light coming in to your shutter. This should hopefully mean stronger detail and more rich natural colours on the P30 Pro. And yes, you do get a nice bit of optical image stabilization thrown there as well. As for the secondary lens, it's once again a 20 megapixel ultra wide angle lens with f2.2 aperture, so no difference on the P30 Pro compared with the Mate 20 Pro. But that third telephoto lens has been upgraded as well. It's once again an 8 megapixel, but now you can get up to 5 times optical zoom on it instead of the 3 times optical zoom on the Mate 20 Pro. And while the Mate 20 Pro topped out at 5 times hybrid zoom, the P30 Pro now goes all the way up to 10 baby. And like the Mate 20 Pro, both of these smartphones have optical image stabilization. But then of course the Mate 20 Pro stops there for the hardware. The P30 Pro continues with a time of flight lens to judge accurate distances in your shots. That's particularly good for your portrait mode. It means some nice accurate looking bokeh, which actually grows stronger the further you get away from your subject. And the actual camera software on the P30 Pro looks very similar to the Mate 20 Pros. It operates in the same way and you get many of those same features such as the Master AI, although that's now easily accessible right there on the front. You get a buttload of bonus features of course as you would expect, and plenty of other great stuff like the portrait mode, which just keeps your subject nice and crisp and blurs out the background. You get a whole bunch of various effects and styles thrown in there as well, so you can really mess around with it, get some really artistic looking stuff. You still get the long exposure night mode here on the P30 Pro, but hopefully those night results should be improved thanks to the wider aperture and that new super spectrum design. And then of course there's the video mode. Once again you shoot up to 4K resolution video, hopefully with strong image stabilization now too. And Huawei's also thrown in a dual view video mode as well. This won't be available at launch, but it'll basically allow you to use more than one of those lenses to shoot video, one superimposed on top of the other. And then around to the front and you get a 32 megapixel upgraded selfie cam here on the P30 Pro compared with a 24 megapixel snapper found on the Mate 20 Pro. However, it is a more basic snapper here on the P30 Pro. You don't get the full 3D face modeling like you do on the Mate 20 Pro. So that means it's less secure for your facial recognition. And of course, you got the full portrait mode shenanigans and all of that using the front facing camera as well, if that's your bag. So that in a nutshell is Huawei's P30 Pro versus the Mate 20 Pro. As you can see, a few little differences there, quite a lot of the same tech as well. So the P30 Pro definitely seems to be a strong contender for one of the best smartphones of 2019 so far. What do you think? Definitely let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell to be the first to see the latest and greatest mobile tech in action. Cheers everyone, love you!